Alright, I want to give my bit on this new Microsoft Windows Surface versus the iPad. Since there's so many pundits and very smug, mind you, I've read just tons of articles and there's a lot of hype and so on and so forth, so I wanted to kind of like sort through in my own way, in my own opinions on what you're really getting and what is this whole matchup. First and foremost, why is everything with these pundits and these articles that you read, whatever, people giving you information, it's always a zero-sum game with these people. And a lot of it, for instance, there's an article talking about, oh, well, this new Windows Surface is going to corner the market on enterprise. And, it's better suited because it can run 1992 software and blah, blah, blah. Such misconceptions of even what enterprise is and how much of the market share even Microsoft partakes within enterprise. It's this mentality they think that are older Apple users, Mac users that are still living in freaking Mac versus PC, and these absolutes are just, it's Windows and things, and just totally freaking ignore most of enterprise that's out there. And then you get these other guys, oh well, the iPad is just a cutting edge, it's going to replace enterprise and all these other things. It's just the newest thing. It's so idealistic, and only people who are open-minded and are open to change are going to use it. Are you freaking for real reading these things and actually buying this stuff? First and foremost, most of everything that you are even using on these tablets came from enterprise of yesterday, essentially. And I'm talking about enterprise from infrastructural all the way to portal-type software, over networks, messaging, so on and so forth. I mean, there's tons of examples. Take, for example, IBM's Tivoli, and you have WebSphere, and you can go to Oracle's middleware and their Fusion stuff. I mean, it's just, you got SAP, and then tons of others, VMware and other types of portal, ERP stuff. I mean, this is utter nonsense. And you read these people, oh, this is just so cool. It's like, we're going to take all this infrastructural enterprise stuff and put it on a freaking iPad, and then the way it communicates is over Dropbox. This is so. I just read these pundits and they're like, is there a sphere of computer technology go beyond the little radius that is like Instapaper and Instaphoto and Dropbox and going from their iPhone to the iPad, and oh my gosh, maybe you can say, oh well, Mr. Bit has a little bit of bias. Yeah, I've come from working on huge projects from Xerox and Microsoft and have used some of these products like from IBM and Oracle and all these other things. I know what's out there. I mean, that's just, okay, that's my experience, but it's funny when people are just, oh, this is just so up and new and blah, 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 and they even realize we've had this stuff long ago, and you can thank enterprise for making it cheaper, putting it in production, and taking the risk on cutting-edge technology. And these companies that do usually get absorbed by bigger enterprise companies, but they because the money is behind it to get that cutting-edge technology out, and then mass fabrication, and it leads to a commoditization of the hardware and blah. We have cheaper stuff. Now it's cheaper to virtualize things, compartmentalize things, and that's why you get Dropbox for cents for free. They give you gigs and things like this. These things happen over time. Anyway, getting back, because I digressed, to the whole Microsoft Surface and iPad thing. Why is that a zero-sum game? It's like, oh, let's crush the iPad, and then you've got the Apple pundits, we replace everything. The iPad's going to be everything. It's going to be your desktop, your server, and it's going to make you coffee and everything. I mean, it's insane. So here's some of the things more realistically that I see. I'm not quite convinced Microsoft Surface is going to corner the enterprise market. If Apple really wanted to target enterprise and get it out there, and they've done some of that, they would make a play even larger, and I think they would probably deliver on something like that. I think they would push farther, work with other solutions, and possibly make the iPad mature into something like that. I mean, we have our current products, but I'm never going to shun the future. Absolutely, the iPad can be something greatly different than what you have now that can definitely partake in it. I only have a couple caveats on that. Is that iOS, with being touch as the primary, when we want to get to serious production, let's say just anything typing, have any of you really used, even with Android, a mouse and keyboard? What are they going to have, a home button on the keyboard? Just go home. I mean, think about it. Navigating the systems, if you want to do it fast, let's just say you go to your 3 primary enterprise applications as an end user, you want to go point and shoot, kind of like expose. And something like that could definitely be added in the future, and I won't disqualify iOS evolving, you know, and getting more mature and things like that. So it's always this damn game of absolutes. But I think most of these articles that are trying to say, oh, well, this Windows Surface is going to corner the enterprise market. It's so smug, some of the attitude, because using words like 1992 software and all this other crap and legacy, they're putting it down, all of enterprise down, and they're trying to say, oh, well, this is so 5 minutes ago, this type of thing, and they don't even have a clue what the hell they're talking about. I don't think the Windows Surface is going to penetrate as much as enterprise as people think. First and foremost, we have Windows 7 tablets. I see them every day. You know, they're out there in use, and they found a niche areas where they're good at, and there are other areas that they're not so good at. So what is the difference? We're going to Windows 8, which is a different UI, but why would Windows 8 be this magic bullet that all of a sudden now takes something we already really have on Windows 7 tablets, and all of a sudden enterprise is going to adopt it? What? I mean, first and foremost, touch in enterprise has limited reach in terms of productivity, especially, you know, infrastructural and things like that. So there are applications where it's widely used in these niche environments where the tablets of the Windows 7 operating system are thriving in. But to make these weird claims, it's like somebody's got to tell me. I don't know what the magic bullet is. First and foremost, it is quite confusing. We have an ARM version of Windows, which is going to be completely really limited, which you could say is an iPad competitor. And then you have the x86, which will be this full-blown Windows 8 with the whole Metro UI. Well, is enterprise really going to like jump to something with the form factor that's primarily touch? Oh yeah, we're just going to get rid of everything we already have, and boom, we're going to jump into this. Not only that, Windows has a massive challenge of people writing and recreating or recompiling, whatever you want, their current apps, and let's say this enterprise, into a Metro style. How long is that going to take, right? So now we're talking about like some freaking Surface thing with a neat little keyboard and all these cubicles there. You probably won't even see Metro all day. You know, you're running on the desktop, and let me tell you, if the UI takes off, maybe Windows 8 has a chance in that, but I still don't think the freaking Surface is going to be like this magic bullet that goes all over IT. I think all that pundit position, all those articles talking about, they're trying to insult Windows and insult enterprise as they're, you know, where you have no feng shui. You know, you're not like us elites that think Dropbox is the freaking next revolution. It's just so revolutionary with things, and my goodness, I have a Retina display and it's just beautiful, and wow, you know, we're just so cutting edge. It's just freaking retarded crap, you know. So Windows and getting apps that are Metro ready is a massive hurdle, especially for enterprise. It's going to say, well, we have versions that are coming out, and do I have to relicense version? Is this going to cost more now that it's recompiled? Do I have to buy from my vendor, and so on and so forth, and then re-push that out? I mean, there is considerable questions, at least that I have, in the logistics of how this goes out. I can already tell you, developers of today, you can find a lot of them are quite lazy and don't keep up with simple apps on Android and iOS and what have you. So, you know, we have like this new developer mentality that likes to buy a third-party thing, and we make a turnkey app in 5 minutes, and we try to make money off of it, and then the end user somehow thinks it's magically going to get updated, you know, in the next revision and things like that. So, but in all seriousness, Windows 8 does present something with this UI in apps actually being made Metro, and then how it interfaces, right? You have a tremendous amount of apps that are going to want to be, either going to have to be running probably thin client in or whatever, or through some portal or some virtualization, what have you, that they're going to upgrade to this device from something they have that's probably really already sufficient to do it. Some sort of hardware terminal. Maybe they're running a Windows 7 client, what have you. That all of a sudden we're just going to go to this. This Surface thing. I can see it, on the go, and certainly it has some advantages being a full-blown OS over something like iOS, which I always balk about all of the mobile operating systems that we currently have, from the playbook and all this, and types of the reach, things that we take for granted on desktop that are not yet there. It may have that, but Metro becomes this kind of obstacle that we need to wait and see. How many developers are going to go to it, especially with type of enterprise software. I mean, I don't know if I can even see Oracle's Fusion and SAP and just other products out there. Now Oracle's Fusion stuff is a suite of software, just like WebSphere from IBM is a ton of products under there. There's certain things that definitely you already are using tech from that, but this thing about it cornering enterprise, I don't agree with you guys. I think that Microsoft really does want to enter more of the consumer market. That's the whole thing with ARM and getting it out there and having some sort of end user use, and look at the App Store and targeting games and things like that. It's got a full-blown OS that can maybe give a choice on the x86 side, but I'm not going to agree that this thing is really enterprise targeted and going to corner the market on enterprise. Certainly if Apple just wakes up tomorrow and says, yep, we're going to start integrating this and this and this, as they've done incrementally, I'm not sure I buy all these damn arguments that are so Windows and Mac centric, especially in enterprise when there's tons of Linux and Unix already out there, and the same software running on those systems. So I would rethink heavily, depending on developers and making their apps for Metro, and how much user complaints are going to come from a drastic UI change. Something that is really, when I'm using Windows 8, it's very touch, still very touch oriented. And touch is not a desktop. Simply making an iPad, or for example with a Bluetooth keyboard and a mouse, does not make it a desktop, because the software does not behave and allow you to task as you would on a desktop, or even give you the same kind of reach and function. And this Surface deal has a challenge, especially with business beyond what we already have with tablets and what already Windows 7 does, and the existing niches that the tablet market has had. And the iPad is beginning to find its own niches as well. It's this whole thing where everybody's, which I still consider much of today's tablets a very faddish thing. There are settling. There is some market settling and finding good uses for these things, just like what happened with Windows tablets over the years. They found their place and where they were, and made good use and became very efficient in those areas. And I just don't see this magic bullet with the Windows 8 Surface deal, how it can expand upon Windows 7. And I've heard somebody say, "Oh, price." Well, is that price worth it for the enterprise to take a gamble on developers working with Metro and taking all their enterprise apps and making them Metro-like? Or are they going to have to deal with this quasi, some half-baked desktop thing that doesn't even work like Windows 7 desktop, where most of their apps run it? And is that worth it for that upgrade? In the end, I think both companies have a challenge. Apple and Microsoft, if we're discussing tablets, and I can get an Android, as well. But the thing of it is that Microsoft has a vision, which is one OS, basically transcending devices, and iOS and OS 10 being device specific, so on and so forth, and then making a bridge between the two. As the future goes on, iOS definitely will mature into more of a desktop-like and basically inherit all the complexities as demands increase, if it's going to get more and more use beyond niches and things like that within the market. And Microsoft is going to have to contend with developer lag, essentially. Goodness. Man, developers don't always respond. And I know they're probably going to make a lot of incentives and things to try to get much of, if this enterprise thing is really going to happen, they're going to have to really work with those partners and get that type of software metro ready. And I think that's a gigantic obstacle in itself. So there you have it. You know, quite frankly, I'm just not, you could probably tell I'm not a big tablet fan. I think this is like this big wave. Everybody wants to try to participate and be like the next cool thing, which essentially it is currently, and the future holds for it, where it will finally settle and what it will finally be. The thing of it is that we as consumers, you know, how many sets of $500 and $400 are we willing to pay, you know, to wait for that future to come? So it's always really been something that stuck in my head and really kept me at bay at thinking of what today's tablets are, even though we've had tablets. You can go get a Windows 7 tablet right now. It's full-blown OS, whatever. But, you know, the market is what it is, and consumers buy what they want. Thanks for watching.